Good morning, dear hearts. We are on lesson 153, and please subscribe. And a good friend today mentioned that I should also mention that there is a little bell that can be clicked for notifications so that you never miss a lesson. Woohoo! So go ahead and do that. Now, today's lesson, big lesson, not a giant stride. Big lesson. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. And you might say, doesn't this sound a little familiar? Well, in 135, this is 153, think about those letters, these numbers being rearranged, that if I defend myself, I am attacked. And this is, in many ways, it's a continuation, but it's a much more of an expansion, and it covers other topics as well. One that figures greatly in this is the idea that we've been given hints about is our ministry, which we'll get into even more tomorrow. So, spoiler alert. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. This is contradictory to the thinking of the world. We think that if we are defenseless, that we are open to attack. This lesson tells us it is defensiveness that is truly the weakness, because defensiveness comes from this idea that I'm about to be attacked. There is a threat everywhere, and I must, shore up my defenses. I, gather the wagons in a circle, build the walls a little bit higher because I am about to be attacked. And in the world of the ego, it is attack, counterattack, rinse and repeat. This is all that the ego world is about. Now, one of the reasons the ego believes that this is the ways of the world is because this world, from the ego perspective, started as an attack on God. So since the ego believes that there was an attack on God, then of course God is just waiting to attack back. So we must always be ready for our self to be smoted, completely obliterated from the earth as we see it to be, because God must be a very angry God. This lesson says the sense of threat the world encourages is so much deeper and so far beyond the frenzy and intensity of which you can conceive that you have no idea of all the devastation it has wrought. So the sense of attack and threat is so much deeper than we can imagine. This is where the ego has set this up for us. But now remember that throughout the course, we're also told that the height and the amount of love that God has for us is also beyond our awarenesses, that we cannot really comprehend how much love there is. So this is the opposite end of that spectrum. The ego is telling us of how much attack and devastation there is, and the Holy Spirit is saying, but you don't know how much love there is, because the amount of love there is that our Father has for us is so much greater than anything you can ever imagine. This lesson is talking about, these childish games that we have been playing of attack, counterattack, and all of the weapons that we have been shoring up for ourselves to use for that attack that at some point we know is going to happen. But this lesson tells us it's our defenselessness where our strength lies, because it testifies to the recognition of the Christ in you. The Christ in us is unassailable. The Christ in us is that deep, abiding faith and strength that God has given to us. And that is where all of the strength lies within us, all of our valor, all of the goodness that we have within us, that we, in the trust, and that is where the salvation is all within the Christ consciousness within us. This lesson then goes to talk about our purpose, our one chosen purpose, which indeed is for the healing of the world. This is why we came. So it says, sure, we will fulfill our chosen purpose as our ministry extends. And it goes on to talk about the fact that we are ministers, and it is the function of God's ministers to help their brothers choose as they have done. God has elected all, but few have come to realize his will is but their own. Now, there is a sentence way back in the beginning of the text about all are called, but few have chosen to listen. And in this, all have been called for and to be ministers of God, but not all have taken up that scepter. Okay, and so while you fail to teach what you have learned, salvation waits and darkness holds the world in grim imprisonment. Nor will you learn that light has come to you and your escape has been accomplished. For you will not see the light until you offer it to all your brothers as they take it from your hands. So will you recognize it as your own. To give and to receive are one in truth, and I only know that I have it as I give it. This is the function of being a minister of God, to give the gifts that we have been given so that we, one, may know we have them, and two, that they will be extended to everyone else within this sonship. This lesson says the game of fear is gone. And it says everyone who plays must win, and in his winning is the gain to everyone ensured. Remember how I've said in the past, this is a sure thing? Everyone who plays must win. So we pause for a little bit each moment to play our final happy game. So that is being in the happy dream. And we stay there a while and play in there, because even though it is happy, it is still the dream. But we play the game of happiness in the happy dream until we decide that once and for all, we take the hand of our Father as he leads us across the threshold to heaven, that is where we are meant to be, where we truly have always been. The practicing for today is start with 5 minutes in the morning, but it tells us that, or 10 to 15. Go into the practice for as long as you can, and it says that at one point, it won't even, a half an hour won't even be enough, that we will want to stay in that space. We do the same thing in the evening. Go into that space of peace and knowing of our strength and how we are protected and how we are guided and how that we are indeed God's ministers. It tells us the ministers of God can never fail, because the love and strength and peace that shine from them to all their brothers come from him. They come from God. We practice on the hour, and if we cannot take that moment to say that in my defenselessness my safety lies, then we wait and do it the next hour, or as soon as we possibly can. We will rise out of the attack mode today that has been imprisoning our minds. And we do today what we have been told in the past from lesson 71. Ask what he would have us do. What would he have us learn? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? And we do that. And that becomes part of our ministry, and that becomes part of our life, that we do it all the time, because we want to spend as much time in the peace and the love and the strength of God as we possibly can, because that is where our happiness lies, and that is where we are meant to be. So, getting longer. Please like, please share, please subscribe. It's a beautiful lesson. Please read it if you have the time. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and of course, we continue our prayers for peace for everyone, not just for some, for everyone. Namaste.